In the deep woods and old towns of Tennessee, some claim to have seen glowing eyes in the darkness. Others have heard chilling cries that never fade. Are they just stories or something more? These are the real legends of Tennessee. Number 1. Old Green Eyes. In the rolling hills near Chickamauga, Tennessee, where the ground is still scarred by one of the bloodiest battles of the Civil War, there is a legend that has haunted the area for generations. When the sun sets and the fog drifts across the battlefield, some say 2 glowing green eyes appear in the darkness, watching, waiting. The locals call it Old Green Eyes, a ghostly presence that refuses to be forgotten. The legend dates back to the Battle of Chickamauga in 1863, a brutal fight that left thousands of soldiers dead. As the wounded lay suffering and the night fell over the battlefield, strange sightings began. Soldiers reported seeing a shadowy figure moving between the fallen, its glowing green eyes piercing through the smoke and mist. Some believed it was a lost soul searching for something or someone it had left behind. As the years passed, the stories did not fade. Travelers passing through the battlefield at night spoke of a terrifying face emerging from the darkness, a twisted, almost inhuman figure with sharp fangs and eerie, unblinking green eyes. Some described it as a ghostly soldier, his spirit cursed to wander the fields forever. Others swore it was something far older, a supernatural guardian of the land. Those who have encountered Old Green Eyes often describe the same feeling, a deep, overwhelming sense of dread. The air turns heavy, the wind dies, and then, just beyond the trees or beside the road, the glowing eyes appear. Some say Old Green Eyes is not a ghost at all, but a creature of the battlefield, a monster born from the pain and suffering left behind. A few even claim it is older than the war itself, a being that has lurked in the hills for centuries, feeding on fear and tragedy. Whatever it is, those who have seen it never forget the way its eyes burn in the night. Park rangers and visitors to Chickamauga Battlefield continue to report strange occurrences. Unexplained footsteps echo on empty trails, voices whisper in the wind, and headlights flicker as cars pass through the haunted grounds. So if you ever find yourself near Chickamauga after dark, take a moment to look around. If the night feels too still, if the air turns too cold, and if you see 2 glowing green eyes watching you from the shadows, do not stay. Some spirits are best left undisturbed. Number 2. The Tennessee Wild Man. Deep in the dense forests of Tennessee, where the trees grow thick and the shadows stretch long, there have been whispers of a strange and terrifying creature. Stories of a hulking wild figure, covered in hair and stronger than any man, have been passed down for generations. This is the legend of the Tennessee Wild Man, a beast said to roam the backwoods, watching, waiting, and sometimes attacking. The earliest reports of the wild man date back to the 1800s. when settlers and travelers in West Tennessee began describing encounters with a creature that was neither fully man nor fully beast. It was said to be covered in reddish-brown hair, with glowing eyes and a terrifying scream. Unlike the legendary Bigfoot, the wild man was known to be aggressive, chasing after people and even attacking livestock. Some accounts claim the creature was incredibly fast and strong, able to leap great distances and break tree branches with ease. Witnesses who claim to have encountered it described deep, guttural growls, followed by an eerie silence that left them frozen in fear. Those unlucky enough to cross its path told of being chased through the woods, hearing heavy footsteps pounding behind them. The wild man's presence was most commonly reported near rural farmlands and remote trails, where people would find giant footprints in the mud or hear strange noises outside their cabins at night. Some believed it was a feral human, a person who had somehow survived in the wilderness for decades, while others swore it was something far older, perhaps a forgotten species that had always lived hidden in Tennessee's forests. In the late 1800s, newspapers ran stories about a mysterious, hairy creature terrorizing communities, even claiming that posses had been formed to track it down. Some accounts suggested that the wild man had kidnapped livestock or even attempted to carry away women. Though no one ever caught the creature, the legend continued to grow, with new sightings being reported well into the 20th century. As time passed, some began to wonder if the wild man was truly a single creature or if multiple unknown beings roamed Tennessee's backwoods. Some believed it was related to the Bigfoot sightings that would later sweep across the country, while others thought it was a lost survivor of an earlier time, a relic of something primitive and untamed. Even today, there are those who claim to have seen a shadowy figure darting between the trees, faster than any human could run. If you ever find yourself deep in Tennessee's forests, alone on a quiet trail, listen carefully. If the birds go silent and the wind stops blowing, you might not be alone. And if you hear a deep, unearthly howl, run. Number 3, Spearfinger. Deep in the misty peaks of the Great Smoky Mountains, where the trees stand tall and the fog rolls in thick, there is a legend older than the trails that wind through the hills. The Cherokee people tell of a terrifying creature, one who walks the forests in disguise, searching for her next victim. They call her Spearfinger, a wicked being with a heart of stone and a finger as sharp as a knife. Spearfinger was said to be tall and gaunt, with yellow, leathery skin, her body covered in what looked like wrinkles and scars. But these were no ordinary scars. They were plates of stone, making her skin as hard as rock. Her most dangerous weapon, however, was her long, pointed finger, sharper than any blade, which she used to slice open her victims and steal their livers. According to Cherokee stories, Spearfinger could change her appearance at will, often taking the form of an old woman. She would wander through the forests, calling out to children in a soft, kind voice, pretending to be their grandmother. Those who followed her into the woods were never seen again. The legend warned that Spearfinger moved silently through the mountains, blending in with the rocks and cliffs. Some said she could walk on clouds and mist, making her impossible to track. Her presence would bring an eerie stillness to the forest. No birds, no wind, only the sense that something was watching from the trees. The Cherokee feared her, but they also fought back. In one story, the tribe set a trap for Spearfinger, luring her into a pit lined with sharp wooden stakes. But when she fell in, the weapons could not pierce her stone skin. Whether she was a warning tale for children or something far more real, the legend of Spearfinger remains strong in Tennessee's Smoky Mountains. The Cherokee knew their land well, and their stories carried wisdom. Stay close to your family, beware of strangers, and never trust a voice calling you from the woods. So if you ever find yourself hiking in the Smokies, pay attention to the wind. If the forest grows too quiet, if the air feels too still, and if you hear a voice that sounds familiar, turn back immediately, because some believe that Spearfinger is still out there, searching for her next victim. Number 4. Raven Mocker. Deep in the mist-covered valleys of the Great Smoky Mountains, the Cherokee people speak of a terrifying creature that moves unseen in the night. A being that does not attack with claws or teeth, but with something far worse, the power to steal a person's last breath. It is called the Raven Mocker, and those who hear its cries may not live to tell the tale. Unlike other creatures of legend, the Raven Mocker does not stalk the strong. It preys on the weak, the sick, and the dying, slipping into homes where its victims lie helpless. It appears as a shadow at first, moving unnaturally through the trees, its presence chilling the air. Then, when the time is right, it swoops down in the form of a great dark bird, or worse, something that is not quite bird nor human. The Cherokee tell stories of elders hearing strange whispers outside their homes just before a loved one falls ill. Some have woken in the night to the sound of beating wings and soft, mocking laughter, only to find their family members growing weaker with each passing day. It is said that the Raven Mocker steals the very years from a person's life, adding them to its own unnatural existence. Those who have seen the Raven Mocker describe it as a twisted, ghastly figure, part human, part shadow, with burning red eyes and a voice that chills the soul. It can move through walls, appear in multiple places at once, and vanish into the night like a puff of smoke. No weapon can harm it, and no one who stands alone can fight it. But the Raven Mocker is not unstoppable. Cherokee medicine men, wise to its ways, have fought against it for generations. Their chants, their sacred rituals, and their prayers can drive the creature away. It is said that if the Raven Mocker is caught in the act, if a brave soul can confront it before it finishes its dark work, it will scream and flee. Though many believe the Raven Mocker to be an old legend, strange happenings still occur in Tennessee's mountains. Some families claim to have heard strange voices outside their homes just before an elderly loved one passed away. Skeptics say the legend was created to explain death and illness, a way for people to make sense of the unknown. But those who have heard the wind whispering late at night, who have felt the air turn cold for no reason, believe otherwise. The Cherokee never took the Raven Mocker lightly, and perhaps neither should we. Number 5. Tall Betsy. In the quiet town of Cleveland, Tennessee, parents have long warned their children about a mysterious figure that appears on Halloween night. Tall and cloaked in black, she moves through the streets, her long shadow stretching under the dim glow of the streetlights. They call her Tall Betsy, the towering phantom who ensures that children get home before midnight, or else. The legend of Tall Betsy dates back to the late 1800s, when children first whispered about a dark, cloaked woman who lurked in the shadows. Some say she was once a real person, a recluse, who lived on Centenary Avenue, rarely seen in the daylight. Over time, stories of her strange habits and ghostly appearances spread, growing into something far more chilling. According to the tale, Tall Betsy stands at over 7 feet tall, with long, bony fingers and piercing eyes that glow in the dark. On Halloween night, she emerges from hiding, roaming the streets to make sure children don't stay out too late. Those who obeyed their parents had nothing to fear, but those who lingered too long might feel a cold hand on their shoulder or hear the slow, steady footsteps of something tall following them home. For generations, parents used the legend to encourage kids to be safe on Halloween, telling them that if they stayed out past midnight, Tall Betsy would whisk them away into the night, never to be seen again. Some claimed she carried a large sack, ready to scoop up misbehaving children and take them to her dark lair beneath Fort Hill Cemetery. While some believed the story was nothing more than a local trick, others swore they had seen her, a towering figure standing at the edge of the woods, watching silently as the last trick-or-treaters hurried home. Even those who dismissed the legend admitted that, on Halloween night, the air always felt just a little colder, a little heavier. Some say that deep in the woods, a shadowy figure still moves, waiting for the right night to return. When the town grows too quiet, when the streets empty, and the last porch light flickers out, that's when you might feel a presence just behind you, watching. So if you ever find yourself in Cleveland, Tennessee on Halloween night, remember the warning. Get home before midnight. Keep away from the shadows. And if you hear soft footsteps behind you, don't turn around. Number 6. Werewolf Springs. Deep in the woods of Montgomery Bell State Park, where the trees grow thick and the nights are eerily quiet, there is a place known as Werewolf Springs. For over a century, travelers, campers, and locals have told stories of a strange, wolf-like creature that roams the area, its glowing eyes watching from the shadows. Some believe it's a legend, but those who have heard its chilling howls know better. The legend traces back to the 1800s when a train carrying a traveling circus derailed near the park. Among the wreckage, it is said that several exotic animals escaped into the wilderness, including a mysterious, wild creature unlike any other. Shortly after, reports of a massive, upright beast covered in dark fur began to spread. People claimed it was no ordinary animal, but something unnatural, something more than a wolf. As time passed, the stories grew more frightening. Hikers went missing, campers woke to find deep claw marks on trees, and late-night travelers saw glowing eyes staring from the darkness. Some claimed the creature was a werewolf, a beast that could shift between human and wolf form, while others believed it was simply a predator that had learned to walk upright. One of the most chilling stories tells of a man who sought shelter at a nearby cabin, only to be attacked by the creature in the dead of night. He barricaded himself inside as the beast clawed at the door, its snarling breath hot against the wooden walls. By morning, the man was gone, vanished without a trace, leaving behind only shattered doors and deep gouges in the floorboards. Over the years, hunters and park rangers have searched for clues, but no one has ever captured proof of the beast's existence. Some have found strange tracks, too large to belong to any known animal, while others have heard low, guttural growls coming from the trees when no creature was in sight. To this day, many refuse to walk the trails alone after dark. Even today, campers report hearing something large moving through the brush, keeping its distance but never too far away. So if you ever find yourself near Werewolf Springs, be careful, stay close to your group, keep your fire burning bright, and never wander too far from your campsite. Because if the stories are true, something still lurks in the Tennessee woods, and it does not like to be disturbed. Number 7. The White Bluff Screamer. In the small town of White Bluff, Tennessee, the nights can be quiet and still, but every so often, when the moon is high and the wind is calm, a piercing scream echoes through the woods. Locals call it the White Bluff Screamer, a chilling cry that has frightened people for generations. The earliest tales date back to the 1920s, when a family living on the outskirts of White Bluff reported hearing blood-curdling shrieks in the dead of night. They searched the woods, expecting to find an injured animal, but never discovered a single clue. Night after night, the screams continued, growing closer to their farmhouse, until the family finally fled. Some say the White Bluff Screamer is a ghostly spirit, bound to these woods by a tragic past. Others believe it is a wild creature, an unknown animal that roams only at night, warning people to keep their distance. Whatever it is, the screams are described as a mixture of anger and sorrow, loud enough to make anyone's heart race. Over the years, curious thrill seekers have ventured into the woods around White Bluff, hoping to catch a glimpse of the thing responsible for the terrifying sound. Many have returned pale and shaken, swearing they saw shadowy figures moving between the trees or felt the eerie sensation of being watched. Despite the fear it causes, not everyone believes the White Bluff Screamer is malevolent. Some think the cries might be the echo of an ancient spirit, calling out in pain or warning. Others propose that it's just a clever prank, carried down through the decades, designed to keep children and strangers away from certain areas. People who have never heard the legend before claim to have been awakened by unearthly howls echoing across the fields at night. These fresh experiences keep the legend alive, reminding everyone that the White Bluff Screamer might still roam the Tennessee wilderness. If you ever find yourself near White Bluff after sunset, keep your ears open. You may just hear that unforgettable scream and become part of the legend yourself. Number 8. The Bell Witch. In the early 1800s, the Bell family settled on a quiet farm in Adams, Tennessee, expecting a peaceful life. But their dreams of tranquility came to a sudden end. What started as faint knocking on walls would soon grow into one of the most famous hauntings in American history, remembered as the tale of the Bell Witch. It all began when John Bell noticed odd scratching and tapping in the middle of the night. At first, he thought it might be rats or squirrels, but no matter how hard he looked, he found nothing. Soon, the entire family started hearing whispering voices and footsteps pacing through empty rooms, sending chills down their spines. Before long, these eerie encounters became more intense. The unseen force seemed to speak in a raspy tone, calling out the names of family members and mocking them with laughter. Some even claimed to hear it humming hymns late into the night. The Bell children often woke up frightened, insisting that something pulled at their sheets or tugged on their hair while they slept. News of the haunting spread quickly, attracting curious neighbors, traveling preachers, and even skeptics who came to see the strange happenings for themselves. Many left convinced there was something real in the Bell home, something that couldn't be easily explained by trickery or imagination. Over time, people began referring to this entity as the Bell Witch, though some believed it might be the restless spirit of a wronged neighbor. Others thought it was a demon or a poltergeist drawn to the Bell family for reasons unknown. Whatever it was, it seemed to take a special interest in John Bell, often taunting him and causing him the most distress. As the haunting continued, rumors claimed that important figures of the time, including a future president, stopped by out of sheer curiosity. They all left with their own tales of thumps, whispers, and objects moving on their own. Visitors still travel to Adams, hoping to catch a glimpse of this legendary spirit. Whether the Bell Witch was truly a ghost, a demon, or something else entirely Her story remains one of Tennessee's most enduring mysteries, echoing through the corridors of history and into our imaginations. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.